Yes. Okay. So what's our first topic?
Let's see. Well, we went to Retropalooza this last weekend.
Yes, the weekend of October 23rd through 24th.
Yes. I feel we should always start each show discussing something we actually did, if possible, as opposed to things we're just, bitching about.
Well, that is half of nerddom.
Yes, yes.
Back in the old days when we were all confined to our comic book stores and video game arcades and back alley risk games.
Yes. And this is Retropalooza 8. That was last weekend. I think the first one I went to was Retropalooza 3. Did you go before that one?
No, I think you dragged me to Retropalooza 3 as well.
Yes. And just for any listeners who may not be familiar with it, Retropalooza is the kind of home retro gaming convention that's run by Shady J of the Game Chasers. It's kind of a friends and family event. He literally has friends and family on the team running the con with him, and then just uses his connections to other YouTubers who are friends of his to fill the guest list. And in this case, it really works because it means he's got a small team he can trust, and they were able to come back pretty fast this year to get things going again after the pandemic. All in all, I thought it was a pretty good show, pretty good attendance, very full dealer's room, which is a good surprise because there was some speculation it may not be.
Yes, and the arcade was full too.
Yeah, I think those are the machines that he's gathering for the barcade he's trying to open.
It's always the barcade.
Everyone
People
wants
always have their Arcadias. Some people have magnificent ships. Other people's have barcades.
Indeed. And so let's go to the inevitable. Every time someone discusses a retro game, a convention visit, they have to discuss their pickups. So we'll just do that first to get it out of the way. Let's see, because I know I picked up for gaming, I picked up a copy of Shining Force Neo. I have to say that. I thought I was kind of considering picking up a copy last time, the last convention before the pandemic started. Thought better of it and been regretting it ever since. It's haunted me every single day, every last single day, waking hour. I thought, wow, why did I grab that game? Okay, not really, but I still wanted it. So we're
That
back.
was an itch.
There you go. It has been scratched. At the same time, the dealer was a bundle deal. So I was looking around and noticed he had a copy of Final Fantasy original NES cart. And, while I have like a ton of different copies of Final Fantasy for different platforms from re-releases over the year, and I could easily play it in any conceivable way right now, I haven't had the actual cart in a long time. And it's one of those things where you can collect for you connect to the spirit of the thing, or you connect to the actual physical object you have memories to. Usually I'm in the former, but in this case I'm in the latter. Just saw that cart and like, wow, I would really like to have that around again. So that was my big game pickup, was just Shining Force Neo and Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Which games did you pick up? I forget. I know we talked about, I was there when you picked them up. I forget which ones it was. Which games did you pick up?
Final Fantasy Tactics Advance for the GBA.
Right.
Donkey Kong Country 3 for the GBA, which is actually the Donkey Kong Country series on the GBA allowed them to add more story elements to the story and also update it a bit. So you get rid of stuff like N64 references and anything like that. But most of all, I picked up the limited run version of Blaster Master Zero too.
Yes, because you were going all over the place asking for that one. You were pushing on.
Well, I was looking for both of them. For those who don't know about Limited Run is a group of people who put out games on formats that are usually digital only. So some people consider it a scam. Some people consider it uncouth. Other people, I have a physical version of stuff now. So,
well, to be specific, a physical format. So they're making physical copies of games that are normally only available in digital.
Yes. So the two, for instance, you have Bloodstained from the former producer of Castlevania, but he also did two download only games. So the Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. So Curse of the Moon 1 and Curse of the Moon 2 have both been produced by limited run in physical. Now, sometimes you can find them at Best Buy, but it's kind of a you sometimes find them, sometimes you don't. So, for instance, stuff like Shantae, usually you can find. Shantae is the half human genie.
Right. Let's see. I think all you picked up this time was you just did games, which makes sense. It's a retro gaming convention, but then I had to go get weird and grab some Transformers.
Because it is kind of having a couple too many Transformers. I just try to hold it back to just Rodimus Prime.
Yes.
So many people have dogged on poor Rodimus over the years.
Well, it turns out I made a very good choice on that because I just picked up two, really. Actually, it was obviously there was the Energon version of Megatron, which was it was out of box toy, really good shape, missing the mini con that was supposed to go with it, but the mini con for that one was lame, and it just looked really good, and they only wanted like $20 for it, so I was like, okay, you know what, I'll take it, I'll grab that. But the other thing was the Alacon, which Alacon is basically just he's one of the quintessent minion ones, like the Sharkticons, because he turns into
the one who has no name.
Shark.
It's the one.
But now he does. Now he's Alacon. See, they gave him a name. He's got a name. But here's the thing: I got it for $25, right? I was thinking, well, it's the same price I've been seeing on Amazon, but you might as well just pick it up here, save the shipping, right? Yeah. Well, just checking on it a few days ago, it's going for almost $50 now. Yeah, it's shooting. So apparently it was a really good choice to go ahead and just grab it off the shelf there, because that is paying off.
How much is Hot Rod going for now? The 30 collection.
Oh, the one that's the one that's the movie series collection, or the studio collection, I think was what they're calling it.
Yeah, probably one of the best versions of Rodimus Hot Rod ever.
Yeah, the one that actually has the detachable buzz off from the movie and all that.
Yeah. And also, you don't want to take your masterpiece version of Rodimus out of the box.
Well, that one's actually holding up to $31. I think the official MSRP is $29.99. So, that one's actually staying at the proper price.
Well,
then again, it just came out how many months ago? So
about 9.
Yeah. And I think they got a pretty good stock on that to begin with, and some reorders. So it's right now, I think the market's met on that one, but as time goes on and starts getting, I'm sure that'll.
Well, the 2 GBAs I picked up, I checked out the pricing. Donkey Kong Country 3 is going for about $5 more than I paid, and Final Fantasy Tactics Advance is usually going for $10 more.
Yeah, and that I will admit, just in general, we talked to a lot of dealers while we were there. That's one of the great things about the show, that it is a friendly local show, so it's easy to talk to most of the dealers. They're willing to do a lot of just deals on the spot. I mean, if you're willing to buy, and especially if you're willing to do cash, I mean, they talk to you, and they look at the current price, think it over. You can kind of negotiate a little bit. Most conventions I go to, it's like everything's there, hooray, but it's always jacked up a couple of extra dollars, and unless you catch them at the very last moment when they're heading home on Sunday and really don't want to have to repack their stuff, they don't budge very much. And this is very different. They were definitely open where, okay, if you're getting a couple of things and there's just straight cash on the table, let's talk numbers, and something good happens. That was pretty cool, actually. They're appreciating that. Though, with the exception of, speaking of GBA games, when you were asking about Metroid Fusion, unfortunately, it looks like there wasn't room for a deal on that.
No, that's because of Metroid Dread. So you do about 20-year difference in, the series. For those of you who don't know, Metroid has had both the main series, which are Metroid 1, Samus Returns, which was originally on the Game Boy. Then you had Super Metroid, which is the 3rd game. Then you had Metroid Fusion, which is the 4th game. Then you had a 20-year gap. And then you finally got Metroid Dread on the Switch, which is a very good game. But if you somehow lost your copy of Metroid Fusion at some point, darn that move, you you're kind of out of luck if you suddenly want to get a physical copy of it again, because it's
Yeah, I mean, how
gone
much was he
from,
asking? 100? How much was he asking?
100.
100 straight up? Okay. I think that was
Yeah.
even technically a good price. We were like looking at eBay. I think we were like, wow, that's actually low.
Yeah. Typically it's been going for 120 in some cases, but if you had a full box, it's 200 minimum.
Yeah, so hopefully at some point Nintendo will actually re-release it, whether to another online expansion where they'll have like GBA games or something perhaps, or just remaster, or just something to get it out there because it's part of the overall Metroid plot. But if you actually want to play through that, you can't, or you're stuck paying 100, three digits to get your hands on this one game, which is gonna turn away most of your players who are considering getting into Metroid. So
Yeah, just throw, Metroid, all the Metroid, Metroid 2, maybe update it to the Metroid Samus Returns remake, then do Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion, call it the Metroid Collection, throw in Other M. Some people have been lately going crazy for Other M, which I'm kind of like, where were you guys 10 years ago? All I was hearing was, oh, I don't want to hear Samus talk. Okay. You do realize she's talked before in the games and it matched what her dialogue was in Fusion.
Well, so that's the other thing too. Actually, speaking of the price of Metroid Fusion, well, yes, there was definitely room for deals and some good prices. All in all, so
Prices are
there's a
up.
lot. Yeah, big time. Especially on anything that's special edition, whether it's like a collector's box or the limited run games, all those editions. I remember we were walking around the Freaks and Geeks table and
Yeah.
amazing selection. I mean, wow. I mean, they really brought out some great stuff, but I don't think anything was below 100, 140 was like the lowest I think we saw on a special edition.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else like 200, 300. I think one or two items is 400, 500. It
In the
was
old terms of the economic people, if rates continue to go, I'll soon be able to pay off everything by selling one limited run game in 6 years.
which that seems because part of it is that there has been just a lot of a flurry of activity in the retro collecting market for the last 24, 36 months. I mean, it's been steadily going up, especially this last year or two, even three. You could say that the focus has definitely been there. A lot of people have been starting to put some money into it. But I think also at this point, it's just the general inflation is starting to kick in. I think we're starting to go from the retailer is just thinking like, oh, I paid this much for it, therefore I'll try to get this much margin back, to more terms of in their mind, if I sell this one particular special edition, I want to be able to pay some people's salaries for a couple of days off that one sale. And what does that equal to me dollar wise? Boom, that's the price. That's going to be several $100 at least. And that's assuming minimum wage. Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of where they are right now.
I don't think we're going to be able to see a world again where we have $50 GBA SPs just lying around.
Yeah, that's something that was missing. I mean, it was a great game selection. I was also happy to see some PSP stuff starting to show up more. But yeah, usually for the last couple of years when we've gone to these conventions, there's been like bins of GBA SPs just piled, and most of them are in terrible shape. I mean, a really good condition SP, that'd be put aside, that'd be put in a place of prominence. It'd probably cost you a little more. But if you just wanted a GBA SP, sure, $50, pick one out of the bin that doesn't look too bad. Did not see that at all. That is definitely not
I saw
a thing
one
anymore.
and it was in fairly good condition. But again, take care of your SPs because they're starting to disappear.
And apparently most people didn't, because I can't help but notice that in those bins, some of those poor SPs, I don't know what people were doing to them.
Remember, who was the primary audience? Children.
Yeah, but even as a child, I could be wrong. I mean, I had a Game Boy. I had a Game Boy Color later on. I was never that rough on these things. I mean, I don't know what these kids are doing. I don't know if they're just like literally like, oh, somebody forgot to bring the ball. Let's use an SP. Yes, yes. But yeah, I think the overall takeaway is just that conventions are back. It looks like they're going strong. Both the attendees and the retailers and the guests are starting to show up again. But specifically in the retro collecting scene, the prices are spiking pretty bad. So there's still some deals to be found, some stuff you can still collect without having to break the bank. But that line of big dollars for that special item versus stuff you can just pick up in bulk or on a whim, yeah, that line's coming down. More and more stuff's starting to go into that special category where you have to really get ready to get your wallet out.